Come back.
So we got to call a meeting.
All right, I'll call this meeting to order. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brian's looking at me like, why are you facing me?
Yeah, no. I forgot we had a flag
Sorry
over
about
here.
that. Then I saw it, but I'm like, okay.
I saw that one come in. I forgot we always do this one.
Okay.
And look, I just think that's on video, just for fun, you know, so that we can all.
Was I the only one facing that?
No, he was
No,
too.
we have to
I'm like,
face the opposite direction.
it's okay.
That's all right.
I'll make a
Okay.
motion
Second, I need a second.
I'll second.
for executive
Thank you.
session for employment of a particular person.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Okay.
So we're going to go down to the conference room next to my office.
Okay, I'm bringing my
Yeah.
coffee.
Yeah, this. No. So minutes.
Lisa, if Mrs. Bose gets here, just send it down for us. Watch that. That's 4.
Yeah.
Just a moment, he'll be in.
Okay.
I just need a motion to come out of executive
I'll
session.
make a motion come out of the executive session.
And a second,
I'll
please.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, and we are going to kick off tonight with a presentation. So we have Ms. Deb Tyson here.
Okay, back at the June board meeting, Ms. Lewis spoke about getting a greenhouse up at the high school. It was a project we were working on, and I had indicated that part of that idea came from a class project that 2 of our students that were enrolled in the New Visions program at Sullivan County BOCES had been working on. I did my best to schedule them for the August meeting, but it just didn't work out because both of them were going off to college. So some things were more important than others. But Brian had asked if we could get somebody in to talk a little bit about New Visions. So what I did was I asked the director of the Career and Technical Education, Ms. Deb Tyson from Sullivan County BOCES, to come in and present on New Visions and some of the other stuff. So, Deb?
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I will make this short, 10-15 minutes max. I do have folders here with some information that we can make extra folders if you'd like, so it's up here. I'm just going to talk about our New Vision Health program at Career and Tech Education Center. Again, I'm Debbie Tyson. I'm the principal of the Career and Tech Center. We have one New Vision program, that's New Vision Health. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, what the benefits are, what students say about it, and we're going to go from there. Ask any questions along the way. So it's a CT program, and just a little history here. It was originally located at Liberty Central School in the mid-1990s, and we only had 6 to 8 students. Over the years, we've increased it. We've increased enrollment, we've increased the opportunities, and we now enroll 12 to 14 students a year. It's a very select program. It's held at our St. John Street campus in Monticello, and it's a very unique and challenging program. So what is a New Vision program? The State Education Department terms it or defines it as a career and technical education delivery program. It's a special delivery system program model. They provide high school seniors with an alternate method to learn about their career of interest. It helps them make a smooth transition from high school to post-secondary. They get an exposure to universal foundation skills, and they have an elementary knowledge to increase their post-secondary knowledge. And with New Vision Health, it's anatomy and physiology. All these students are going into a career that is, they're either going to be a medical doctor, anesthesiologist, a pharmacist, physical therapy, occupational therapy, very rigorous careers. So again, what is it? It's a cooperative effort between education and industry. We offer pre-professional elective programs, a lot of career exploration, and it's applied learning. So students come into this program and they rotate to different workplace, different healthcare facilities. They observe and they assist professionals. They work side by side. I love to hear students I really hate being right next to this because I like to walk around, so I'm really confined here. I love to hear our students when they come back from the OR. They get to go into the OR for a day or even more than one day. They'll gown up, they'll be standing right next to the surgeon, and they're able to see everything, and they're so excited. They'll
Stand
come-
next to the
they
surgeon?
Usually they have a stool, they stand right next to them, they'll come back and say, you know, I held this leg, or I was able to do this. The gorier the better, you know, and they just love it. And, what?
So just think about that the next time you're in surgery.
Please, can I hold your leg? Oh.
It's already in my
A
hand.
surgery on the leg or something. That's what they're doing.
No, you cannot hold my leg. I'm sorry, I'm getting carried away. Okay.
But they get to see the actual surgeries. They go into PT and OT, physical therapy and occupational therapy offices. And what's good about that is that for most occupational therapy and physical therapy programs, students need 50 hours of observation time before they can be considered for admittance into one of those programs. And so by enrolling in this program, they can get some of those hours, which is pretty good. Students spend 1 to 2 days at the internships. They start out in December and January. They spend 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday afternoons at clinical sites, or mornings at clinical sites. And then in February, we do 1 full day of clinical. So they're at the clinical site from 8 o'clock in the morning to 1:45. They really get a good taste of what it's like in those professions. And we gear the students' clinical internships to their interests. We'll expose them generally to everything, but then we really pinpoint what they're interested in. If they're interested in cardiology, we'll have them go into cardiac rehab, ICU, telemetry, all those things to help them learn about that career. The benefits, and we have a parent meeting when the class first starts, and also in the spring, telling parents about this program. It's a great benefit to parents because here you have a child that is getting all this exploration. By the time they get done with the program, they have a really good idea of what career they want. So parents really love that because their child is not going into college and spending the first 2 years and saying, guess what, Mom, I really don't like this. I'm going to switch careers, and they're going to school for another 4 years. So they really get to know what programs they like. College decisions are more appropriate. Again, the occupational experiences. And colleges look at New Vision students. New Vision students are high caliber students. It's a rigorous program throughout New York State, and they really look at those programs. We have a lot of our college articulations, and they can get college credit. So last year, we're always looking for new opportunities for students, not just the hospital or the nursing homes or rehab, but what other places? So Toro College is a medical college in Middletown, and they've been in existence, I think it was their 3rd year last year. So of course I contacted them and say, I have a group of students who want to come down and see this. We spent a whole day there with them. Of course I went with them because I want to get into, I want to see what it's like. I'm also a nurse by trade. But they were absolutely wonderful. This was one of the best experiences that we've had with these students. They were able to go into their cadaver labs. I'm going to get you really bored here. So they were able to go into the lab, and here you have organs. They're able to see real lungs, hearts, kidneys, eyes, brains. It was great. So and students they got to be right next to it. They got to see it. Of course, they had to gown up. I couldn't take any pictures of it because of confidentiality. But it was amazing. They did this is going to go down, right? They did cross sections of organs, and they would have that on display, and they would preserve it, and that's how they teach the medical students. Then we went to this lab where it was a doctor. The students that go to this program receive a doctor of osteopathic medicine, a DO, and an MD. Same premise, but the focus is more on the physical part and on manipulation and things like that. So we got to see this class where they were doing range of motion and physical therapy, and students were practicing on each other. Our students standing there and got to do some hands-on. It was great. So this is one of the things that we are going to do every year now. So these are just some of the opportunities that we get. This was their lab, and they have mannequins in here, and they do lots of simulation. It's a sim lab, and not these mannequins, but other mannequins, they have where we have them in at the Career Tech Center too. They can breathe, they can vomit, you can take their blood pressure, all these things that they can practice on mannequins before they go out to the clinical setting. Again, this is a medical school. It's pretty interesting. So internships, these are just a list of internships, and again, everything I'm saying here, and I'm talking fast, is in the packet. We use Premier PT, Mountain PT, dermatology. We had several students that are in dermatology. So they would go to Dr. Fishman's office in Monticello, and they would learn about dermatology. We also have students that are interested in veterinary science. So Dr. Bolowski, she's been great. We have students go there. Achieve Rehab, Middletown Medical Group, the Medicine Shop or Pharmacy. Of course, Catskill Regional Medical Center, they tour all the different departments there. Center for Discovery, we do 4 full days at Center for Discovery, and they take them to both campuses. There's one in Hurleyville and one right in Harris. But what they gain there and see there is just phenomenal. Liberty Elementary School, we have them going with Denise Rydell, the school nurse there. Our own campus in White Sulphur to see our own OT and PT, so they can see occupational therapy in a clinical setting, in a healthcare facility, or in a school setting. Again, expose them to all the different opportunities for these careers. Bethel Medical Group, social work, we even have them observing a hospital administrator. So it depends what you want to go into.
Debbie, what time of year are the internships offered? Summers?
No, we start in December.
Oh.
December and January, we go 2 days a week, 2 mornings, and then in February, 1 full day a week. But you know what happens? Good question, good statement, because what usually happens is many times they'll go and do an internship or a shadow experience during the year, and they may end up getting a job there during the summer before they start college.
Do the students have a reduced workload in their regular school schedule, or do they?
No, they
have to-
don't.
They have to carry
This
that
is
all.
a rigorous program. In a few minutes, I will tell you the courses that have taken this. It's very rigorous. So they do hands-on skills. In this program, again, it's a neat program, we really emphasize critical thinking, decision-making, teamwork, because those are the things and attributes you have to have when you go into the medical profession. These young people, young adults are going to be doctors and research. They're going to really be doing great things. We prepare for post-secondary education. The academics is integrated. We offer English 12 honors, and they also take fundamentals of speech through SUNY Sullivan. So one of our teachers, our consultant English teacher at the Career Tech Center, is also an adjunct for SUNY Sullivan. So they get 3 speech credits, fundamentals of speech. They get economics 12 honors credit, anatomy and physiology. Now Kathy Frieda is the instructor, the primary instructor for this program, and the anatomy and physiology that she teaches is very rigorous. Kids come back and say, gosh, I knew everything our freshman year, you taught us really well. Kathy is also an adjunct through Syracuse University, and she's able to teach the super government. So they receive 2 college courses credits, so they receive 6 credits when they get finished with this program. But it's tough, but it really prepares them. The way it's structured, it's like a college course, the whole course. So when they go to college, they really are well prepared. What's it like in the classroom? Oh, look at this. See, isn't that great? It's a real hard. So, I was going to bring props with me too tonight. But they do a lot of hands-on. We do get animal hearts, and they dissect them, and they'll practice skills on each other. There's a whole list of skills they have to do. So a lot of variety of activities, a lot of hands-on activities. It makes it interesting so that the heavy workload is not so overwhelming to them. See more bones. I mean, we have a skeleton in the classroom. They like what they do. Now, our New Vision students have done very well in our Skills USA competitions. Every year they compete in the state and the national competition. Skills USA, if you haven't heard this before, it's a leadership team building program for all Career and Tech Center students throughout the United States. I was fortunate, I think it's 2 years ago now, we had a team that achieved first place in the state, and I took them to Louisville, Kentucky. I chaperoned them in the Nationals. They placed ninth, I think, that year in the national, which is great.
Yeah.
It is just the experience of networking with other students and great kids. So a lot of career opportunities, the testimonials. So in the packet, there's some great testimonials, and I'll make more copies and send to Lisa if anybody else wants them here. But what you hear students say when they come back is just phenomenal. One student said, I would not be at this point in my life today without the program, first year medical school. I'm so grateful for my senior year of high school experience. I also want to thank you for inspiring me to go into nursing. I really enjoy this program. The program helped me decide a major for college. Then anatomy and physiology helped me in a class at college. First was occupational therapy. I'll be attending medical school next year because of this program. It's been the most beneficial experience as impacted my college academic life. George Washington Medical School, 2010. It was wonderful, really helped applying to college. The knowledge I obtained really helped in my classes today. Lemoyne College, pre-dental. This program proved to be the foundation of my biomedical experiences in college. It also assisted me in getting a summer job at a clinical office. Syracuse University student. They said this new vision helped me decide a medical anthropology major. I'm now going to continue at the University of Buffalo Law School for medical malpractice.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine? I mean, the opportunities that are available to these students is phenomenal. I think the most valuable lesson I learned is not to procrastinate. Hunter College. So, Elvis students, you have phenomenal students here, as every other school, but it's just phenomenal. I've been so fortunate to be part of this program. And also we do a strict application process. So I interview the students, the applicants, with a guidance counselor. These are the students that have been in the program since 2013. There's been more, but this is what I had real meaning. Kristen D'Angelo, Abigail Koppenbach, I'm probably saying this wrong, Christiana Morgan, Kelsey Collins, Audrey Mellon, Lizzie Kelty, Molly Clarkin, and this year, Julia Foster. Lovely, lovely students. Julia sits, she comes in to St. John Street every morning. She's sitting there waiting to go up and, good morning, how are you? Same thing with the 3 students last year. You should be proud of your students. They're just a great tribute to you. So our graduates go to a lot of colleges, universities, a lot of SUNY schools. They go to some private colleges. These are all of them. I mean, they've gone all over the place and done very, very well. There is a really strict admission process. We start in February. We do presentations to the home schools the month of January. Then February, we have an information session inviting all the parents and prospective students. We go through the process. The parents have to be on board because they need a lot of support for the students to really succeed and do well in this program. Here it is senior year, and they could really enjoy their senior year, but these group of students do not. I mean, well, they do, but
they don't have free time.
They don't. But you know what? The students that are in this program, these are your students that are in 3 sports, drama, dance, everything. These are top students. So we get everybody involved. Again, highly motivated students. So again, they have to have certain criteria, 85 or above average, they have to have Regents courses, they have an essay and then an interview. And we're nice and we give them, there's a big application pack that they do. I give them topics of the interview questions, so they have that ahead of time. And it's great for them to go through an interview because sometimes it's the first interview they've ever gone to. So we really prep them, how would you go to an interview? How would you dress? How would you act? How would you be prepared? So that's a learning process in itself. So these are the deadlines for this year. Going to be here before you know it. And I talked really fast, but I'm so excited about this program. It's a great program as well as our other career and tech programs. I mean, you have to come visit us sometime and see what it's all about. But I'm really happy that we have it. We're going to continue to offer this. Any questions?
Nobody has any questions. I just have one question really quick. What was it about confidentiality in a cadaver lab? So you couldn't take pictures.
Good is respect for the person's body. So it's still respect for the body. Even a dead body, you have to, you're respecting that dead body.
Okay.
And so those organs are part of that body. And that was a Sally Jones or Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I get you. Okay.
I do have a question, Carol. It's a fantastic program, and I see that on the admissions process slide, you have a presentation to the home schools. That happens in January, so somebody from your group comes to Eldred and presents to the students?
Yes, usually what happens, being that I live the nearest in this end of the county, I used to come to, help me out here, the science class and in the high school. I would come to
Miss
one.
Padua?
Yes, I think so.
That or Mrs. Sutherland, one of the
It was
other.
Miss Padua, that's what it is. Yep. So I would come to the science class, the 11th graders, and give a presentation. Kathy Frieda would go to some schools. We make sure we covered all these, it could be the 11th grade classes, but the Regents classes for high-level classes.
To the students?
To the students, yep. And we're very fortunate that these teachers let us in.
Yeah.
We do it like 10 minutes flat, but but gets their interest.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Thank you for having me. There's extra folders here if you want it. If you want more information, I will send to Lisa.
Thank you, Deb.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Deb. Okay, we will move on. Elementary principals report, Ms. Keegan. I know, you can turn, yeah.
I have my report and Mr. Krebs' report. Our opening of school this year was absolutely fantastic. I have to thank the PTA because it was Heather Tice alone with her infant and two other children that decorated our halls. They did an outstanding job. I'm calling it the Atrium Lounge. I'm not really sure what to call it. But we have new furniture out in the lounge. We're hoping that parents, when they drop off their kids, come and stop, have a cup of coffee, and chat, get to know each other better, get to know me better. So we're trying to make it very welcoming. There's coffee, there's tea, we might have hot chocolate when the weather gets a little cooler, water. So please come and make use of the beautiful surroundings. We do a picture day on September 28th. Our open house will be September 28th, also from 6:30 to 8. I have been in contact with the National Honor Society to see if we can get some helpers to help entertain children that may not wish to go to classes. If they want to go to the classes, they can. But if they're siblings and they don't want to, they may want to play a game or color or do crafts. So we're trying to work on that. Spirit Week is coming up, starting October 2nd. We will do our early dismissal drill, and that's October 5th. And the elementary school is going through a full evacuation, so the students have the full experience of leaving town hall from there on their bus and going home. And our superintendent's conference day is October 6th. There will be no school for students. We look forward to the PTA Assembly Green Challenge game. That will be September 27th. And when I give out these dates, I hope that if you have time in your schedule that you can come, that you join us. And October 17th is the PTA Assembly Mad Science Sounds Like Science. So the Brain Challenge game, I believe Connie said that you guys are from Long Island. Who is that PTA? Am I right with Long Island? Yes, okay, they're from Long Island. It's supposed to be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I have a postseason game, so we miss it. But that one's supposed to be great. Any questions on my report? Okay. Mr. Krebs is at his open house this evening. His first day of school went extremely well also. On September 12th, his guidance counselors will meet with the seniors and their parents. Oh, that happened already. Okay, they met with seniors to review the year's expectations and provide information about college and post-high school plans.
Extremely well.
It went extremely well? Okay.
No.
You're just adding that. Their open house is tonight. On the 27th is See You at the Pole at 7:15. Will you be there?
Yes.
Yes, 7:15. October 2nd, and I just repeated this, we're doing a school-wide Spirit Days, so we'll be doing the same Spirit Days as the high school. And their picture day is October 4th. It's the same day as their blood drive. And October 11th are the PSATs that begin at 8 a.m. And that's all I have for him. Does anyone have any questions on his report? Yes, Linda, go ahead.
I had talked to him, and I will be meeting with him, with Mr. Crooks next week, on flood buckets for Texas and Florida
Oh, nice.
for seeing if we can get some kids to, it's just what it is, a bucket with certain things I have, the materials.
And
see if we-
how do they get to those locations?
I will get them to do that information. But I'm going to meet with them next week.
And you'll get the information to the elementary school as well?
Sure,
Great.
sure.
Sorry, it's very hard to hear with that on, but if anybody gets too hot, just let me know.
And can I explain? See you at the pole? See you at the
Sure,
pole.
sure.
See you at the pole used to be rally around the flag, and it's going to be on the 27th at 7:15 at the high school. But when they're here, and it's just a 5-minute deal where any kid student wants to come out, and we say a prayer for them and the faculty and the school year, so parents, teachers, whatever. So
Linda, is that a national event?
It is.
It is, because I had somebody ask me the other day about it. I
Yeah,
answered yes,
it's,
I believe it was.
international.
International.
yeah,
International, wow.
yeah.
Is it all at the same time then, basically?
Yeah.
I mean, that
Well,
day, within the
same
day?
day.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, any questions, anybody else?
Thank you.
We will have the school business administrators report, Ms. Lewis.
Yes, September is a very busy month, the end of August, September. There's a lot of personnel, human resources, and payroll activities in the business office for new hires and getting payroll set up for our employees for the new school year and deductions so that everybody gets a correct paycheck the first time and on time. So that's been taken up quite a bit of time in the office. The normal monitoring of the budget and accounts payable, orders coming in, the coordination and sale of the used buses and the pickup, which is complete now. The last bus was picked up today, and as I sent out the email, we did make over $100,000 on our buses, and the total came to $103,250, which is $30,000 more than we budgeted for, so that's good news. I drafted the RFP for legal services, which I have a copy here, so I will share, if you pass this down to the board members so they can see it. I polled DCMO BOCES and all of the business officials in Orange and Sullivan County to find out who their legal counsel was, and I received a total of 15 firms which received our RFP. And they are sending in, I've received 3 responses so far that they intend to submit a proposal, and I'm sure more will be coming this week. I only circulated that on Monday, the 18th, this past Monday. So that's actively in place, and it is due on October 18th. So that the submissions, I've requested 7 copies, so each board member can receive a copy of the proposals that we received for review. And there's an evaluation matrix you'll see in the proposal that is used to evaluate those proposals. It's a point basis, and if you have any questions on that, we certainly can go over it. Also doing the data entry for the ST3 reporting for our state aid. I managed the blacktop, I'm sure you also have the blacktop in the driveway here, and at the junior senior high school, the basketball and tennis courts. Responded to questions from parents regarding transportation, not too many this year, everything went pretty smoothly, which is nice. I also implemented weekend maintenance coverage in the district at the junior senior high school, so we have someone on staff working Wednesday through Sunday now, from 7:30 until 4. So we have a lot of activities on the weekends, so this helps us to have someone available to help those people having activities and do our pump reading and our building checks. Also, the tax collection is in full swing. I talked to the tax collector today. She said it's been very busy. She's been receiving a lot of checks. We did set some, we had a little bit of a change this year with the in-person collection. Jeff Bank was no longer willing to collect taxes for us. And I had a concern with collecting them in the town halls on Saturday mornings because she was collecting the funds and the bank was closed prior to her being able to go and deposit them. The funds were going home with her, and I just had a concern for the tax collector's safety with taking funds home over the weekend and not being able to put them in the bank. So we did stop in-person collection. I spoke with many of my colleagues who also do not do in-person collection. And then today, I received a letter from the real property tax supervisor of Sullivan County indicating that we need to collect in the same manner that the towns collect. So we have set up tax collection dates and sites for in-person tax collection, and that is 9/25, 9/27 from 1 to 4, 9/29 from 9 to 1, 10/24 and 11/1 from 9 to 1. And that will be at the business office in the junior, senior high school, and we will have signage directing anyone who wishes to pay their taxes in person to the business office, so they do not have to go through the entire school building. Also about taxes, last month embedded in the agenda was the motion for the warrants, but what was not included was the surplus funds and the fund balance, or the amount that we were using to reduce the levy, because I did not have the figures from the auditors at that time. So I have that this evening. I'm going to pass that around to each of you so you have a copy of it as well. And nothing is different than what was embedded in the agenda that you voted on last month, except that the figures are now there. And you have to have the figures there because you have to ensure that you do not have more than 4% of your fund balance at the end of the school year. And that is all I have tonight.
Question on the RFP.
Yes.
7, proposal requirements. We list representation of at least 5 school districts, including representation of at least 2 in the last 5 years. Could not their contract have been a 5-year contract with just one district? Or would we want
It
to?
could have been, but the more references we have, the better.
But that would exclude someone that has only been with one district in 5 years?
Most legal firms, as I was requesting information from my colleagues, most legal firms represent more than one district.
What number are you looking at, Amador?
7, proposal requirements, 3rd bullet,
Yes.
page 7.
Yes.
So, that's fine. They'll be representing more than one district at a time.
Did this document, was this in our pre-read?
Which document?
This legal RFP document?
It was not.
So I know when you handed it to us, you asked if we had questions on this, but it's, it's a number of pages. I'm not prepared to ask questions on this. In the future, could I ask if, you're looking for questions from the board or for us to review a document, that we see this in advance of the meeting?
Of course.
I'm not going to try to read it right now, so I don't know if I have any questions.
Any other questions for Ruth?
Basis for the evaluation criteria point system, is that used by other districts?
That is very typical. This actually is a template of a legal services document from DCMO BOSI's. And they use it whenever they do cooperative purchasing and are asked to prepare an RFP for districts. And it's fairly standard for an RFP.
So this has already been put out there?
It
right?
is, yes.
So there's not really an opportunity to revise it?
Not to revise it, but you have the opportunity to ask questions of anybody. Once the RFPs are submitted and you review them, you select your candidates, you can set interviews, and then you can ask questions of them at that time for clarification or additional information.
I mean, obviously, I haven't read the document, but the point that Mr. LaPook brought up about the selection criteria is concerning, because it limits the number of firms that are eligible to participate in the RFP. And when you limit it to, firms who represent multiple districts for a period of time, you could engineer this in such a way that you only get RFPs from firms that, meet certain predefined criteria. And so I don't like that. I would prefer it to be more broad, because, what I'm saying, if I wrote an RFP and I knew that there were a number of firms that met a certain criteria and I knew who those firms were, I could write the RFP in such a way that ensured that they're going to be the only ones who meet that criteria.
Well, being school district lawyers, it is a very specified, specific job. So you can't just have an RFP. If you're a lawyer, you can, apply. We'd be inundated.
Right, but it's a
We wouldn't
representation of at least 5 school districts and of at least 2 districts in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And so that does limit the number of firms. It could be a firm who represents only 1 or, who does represent 5, but, maybe not 2 in the last 5 years. And you're limiting the number of firms who are eligible to submit an RFP. And what my concern is that the more that you narrow your criteria, the more you pre-select the firms that you want to do business with. So it's water under the bridge. I mean, it's out there, but, if we're going to be asked for feedback as a board to guide things like this, we need to see this before it's issued, and certainly not when it's already happened, and then we come to a meeting and we're handed the document.
Well, but usually we don't have anything to do with RFPs. Usually that's just done by our employees. So, I understand what you're saying, but I think this was a courtesy that we received this.
Okay.
And, any questions? Any other questions about anything that Ruth has just shared with us? I like the idea of weekend maintenance coverage so that we're covered 7 days a week. I think that's a very good idea. Certainly, it's busy around here 7 days a week, so I think that's good. And CBO payroll, that is always a hard kickoff in September. Any issues this year?
No, it really went very smoothly.
Good. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. And you had an audit committee meeting last night, did you?
Yes, we did.
And are there any results from that that the board needs to know about?
There will be doing a presentation at next month's meeting
Okay,
with the final
okay, great.
audit report.
Okay,
There is, it's a standard audit.
yeah, okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I have a number of questions about the tax warrant and bills, but I see that's on the agenda, so I'll hold my comments for that portion of the
Okay.
meeting.
We are up to the district report, Dr. DeFore?
Not much. Opening the school went very well, very smoothly. The PTA at Mackenzie did a marvelous job of decorating the lobby to welcome our students back. Staff members were in the lobby to greet them. I know I was out front. I think I saw just about every kid running past me to get in because it was pouring. I did find a spot where I could stand and not get too wet. But opening the school went smoothly in both buildings, and everybody's pretty much settled in. I think the best thing you can say is it's like we never left. It's like there was no July, no August. It just kind of continues on through. So that's all I have. It's a good opening to the school year.
Okay, and my report is also very short. I want to say first that I was extremely impressed with both buildings and how wonderful they look welcoming students back. The cleanliness and the crispness and the shininess of everything was like, wow, I just feel like that just says we can't wait for you kids to scuff it all up,
Yeah.
I just loved it, and I praise the kids here, and please convey my appreciation to the high school custodians as well, because I am just thoroughly impressed with the way we look, we really look good.
Very nice.
And also, since this is a new position for me, and so being board president, I have found out requires your attendance at many less than exciting meetings. And I have been privy to a few of those. I will not go into the boring details, but apparently if you are the board president, then you get to do a lot of things that I would never have chosen. Sorry, I'm just being blunt. But, so far so good. And, well, it's only September, so who knows? I have no idea. But it has been fun, and I'm really excited about this school year because I feel so many things are going well, and I feel like we have had good guidance and good leadership, and that we're not going into the school year with trepidation of any sort. And I feel confident in this board, and I feel like we can do this, and I don't know that I thought all that prior to spending a month, with you all. But anyway, so that's really my whole report. I'm just very excited about the school year and very excited about the way the schools look, and excited to have the teachers back. We were just talking to somebody as a potential interim, and we kept telling him how much we love our teachers and how much we support their decisions in the classroom, how much we know that they know their children the best, and that they're what make Eldred the school that it is because of the way you care for kids. So I'm glad to see a lot of you here tonight, but we also made sure that that's the message that we sent out to whoever we end up hiring. So thank you.
I'm sorry, let me echo
Yeah.
your positive impression of the way that the schools look and the way that the year started. I have the unique benefit of being able to bring my kids to this building every day. And when I came into the first day that the opening, there was balloons out here. It was like an arch of green and yellow balloons. And of course, the cafe with the coffee, and all the staff were out greeting kids, and the music teachers were playing the piano and singing songs, and it was really beautiful to see, because that's the impression you want kids to have, as a lot of them are nervous coming to school for the first time ever, or coming back to a new classroom and a new teacher. And it was a very welcoming, happy environment, and it was good for a parent to see too, and I appreciate all the work that went into that. So we're off to a great start.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, we have a public comment at this time. It is limited to the consent agenda, which is items 601 through 902, or 3. We have a walk-in motion, which is 903.
We don't have it in front of it. I'll read it to you and I'll explain what it is, but it should be on the consent agenda. Last year, we cross-contracted with Monticello Schools to provide English language learner services to one of our students. And we did not get the results back until the end of August, and the student needs the services again. So I have to enter into another agreement with them. The good news is that the way they're structuring the tuition is far favorable than we had last year. So the motion, which would be 9.03, would read, and I apologize because I just settled this afternoon with them. I make a motion to approve the agreement between Monticello Central School District and the Eldred Central School District, providing, it's now called ENL instruction, to an Eldred student number 811247 with the 2017-2018 school year at a cost of $900 as tuition for 180 minutes of ENL instruction per week. So that would be 9.03. And again, I apologize, I didn't have enough copies for everyone.
So that's English.
It's
We don't know what
English
ENL.
Natural language.
Natural
They
language.
changed it as of
It used to be
July.
ESL, then it was
ESL,
ELL.
now it's ENL.
ENL.
Okay.
English native language or English?
Natural.
English native language, I believe, is what it is now. But we're required to provide the services. We do not have anyone on staff certified to do it.
We only have one.
I did convince one of our teachers to go back with a certification, but that will be an 18 to 24-month process, because we will go years on end where we do not need the service, and then we'll need it for one kid. And then sometimes we have 5 or 6 kids, depending on who moves into the district. So we don't have the capacity right now.
I can tell all of you from my years in public education that if you know anybody going into public education, tell them to get ESL, ENL, whatever you call it now. Tell them if they get that certification, they will always work. They will never, ever. We can't ever get enough. Special ed is the same thing, so is speech and language pathology, but you just cannot find enough people with those certifications. So if you know somebody going into education, we get 700, who was it that said the other day in a meeting, 700 applicants for an elementary position. And we can't find a speech and language pathologist for half the schools in Sullivan County. So please tell the young people out there. Okay. So we have public comment at this time. Okay. We will move ahead with the consent agenda, recommended actions 6.01 through 9.03.
I'll make that motion.
Actually, there needs to be a correction on the meeting minutes from August 17th, so 6.01. If you look at...
Okay, hold on, we need a second, and then we'll have discussion.
Second.
Okay, second. Okay,
Under the executive session, 11.02, it says that we adjourn that at 9:39 PM.
Yeah.
However, the adjournment under 12.01 shows that we adjourn the entire meeting at 8:41 PM. So we just
Okay.
need a clarification as to which time.
on which one was correct.
Which time is correct.
Okay, so that's fine, easy
Yeah,
clarification.
simple, easy one.
Okay. So then I will call for the vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have a couple of questions as well on the consent agenda.
Okay, so here's how it works. Anything you want to discuss, we pull out of the consent agenda.
Oh, okay.
And
All right,
then
okay.
we discuss, then we vote on the consent
On the consent
agenda, and
agenda.
then we do those discussions.
Okay.
So what would you like to?
9.02.
9.02. 9.02. Okay, so we will discuss those
Which, by
separately.
the way, I would say just in general, oh, so I'll hold my comments for that.
Okay.
When we do these policies, I usually do have questions. We might want to do policies separately outside of the consent agenda.
We had a first reading, and we didn't have any discussion,
I missed
so.
it, it's my fault.
Well, that's all right. I read through these also,
Okay.
and you know, question or two is not uncommon.
Okay.
Is there any other?
That's it.
Okay. So we will go ahead with the exclusion of 9.02. I'm calling for the vote on the consent agenda. So, Ms. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Siegel,
Yes.
Pastor Bose.
Yes.
Mr. Laput.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Thank you. Okay, so, I guess we'll do that right now. I'm not sure really what the order is, whether it should be old business or new business, so we'll just do 9.02 now.
Okay.
Okay?
Just bear with me a moment. I didn't print them. I had a problem with the printer, so I'm just going to pull up the policy so I can tell you what my question is. Oh, you do? Okay, yeah. So yeah, these are both second readings that I have questions about. I have a question about the homeschool students policy and the field trips and excursions policy.
Okay.
Now, everybody printed them but me, and I have a question, so.
Homeschool
Thank you.
first.
Homeschool students, so it's a second reading on both of these, and so on the homeschooled students, the change is, and they're highlighted in red when you see them in the
Intramural.
packets, is the intramural participation. So we had a discussion a couple of months ago about how liberal and welcoming our homeschool policy is and how our philosophy is to be accommodating to homeschool students. And I saw this and I went looking for a legal change at the New York State level with regards to not allowing children to participate in intramural sports. And I couldn't find it. So was there a change legally?
This is what's being recommended by school boards. First of all, we do not offer intramural sports.
Does it apply to any kind of clinic or youth basketball program?
Intramural sports are usually organized activities between groups of students that are not defined as interscholastic sports. So it could be a volleyball league or something like that. And I believe the reason for the change is an insurance reason. Okay, because any type of a sporting activity, there is a risk with the insurance. But we presently do not offer any.
Have we in the past? In the recent past?
That I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
That I'm aware of,
So
no.
things like fishing club and
No,
stuff, it's not?
see,
Those are not
those
intramural.
clubs and other activities,
They're
as
still welcome.
the wording in here permits them to be
They do, okay, then fine, so it's a
involved in it.
non-issue.
It's just a technical thing that school boards recommended, but it really doesn't apply.
Okay, non-issue then, okay, so I'm fine. So
Non-issue.
4531 is the field trips and excursions, and
Yes.
one of the number of changes in there, but the one change that concerns me is that overnight field trips now require superintendent approval, and they require 3 months' notice. And my concern about that is that we don't want to put into place any kind of policy that would discourage teachers from taking advantage of those kind of opportunities. And an opportunity might present itself to go on an overnight field trip, and, I'm sorry, you're about to, I don't want to go on, but is that
The
going to...
language is covered here, because it said should be made. Not shall be made, should be made. So that encourages our faculty and staff to plan as far out in advance as possible so we can make the necessary logistic arrangements. But I'll give you a perfect example. The number of times Mr. Gass is in my office saying, we just went to sectionals and I need to take 20 kids up to Albany overnight tomorrow, I can count as 5 or 6, okay? And that's instantly accommodated. So the language does cover it. It says should be. So if we're planning, and we don't do a lot of overnight things, but if we do if a teacher is looking to plan something or a club is looking to plan something, we ask them to plan it as far out as possible. but the language does permit us to make those exceptions.
We have to
I
be
just don't
very
know that-
careful. I'm sorry, we have to be very careful also with overnights because of the accommodations and children sleeping in the same rooms and, you know, the supervision.
No, I understand.
It just is.
But I do trust the judgment, you know, of the teachers and the administrators to make that call. And I just, the 3-month window seems to be an artificial barrier. I know it's not a concern for you. You're currently our superintendent, and so it wouldn't be a problem. But I don't like codifying something that's not necessary, where we would potentially run into an issue where somebody's not able to participate in a field trip because we have this 3-month rule. So,
Brian, can
Yep.
I just tell you that right now, I'm accepting field trip requests as far out as June.
This is
They wanna make
specifically
sure-
for overnight.
Yeah, but they want to make sure they have their tickets, their
Right,
accommodations.
they have to plan ahead.
no, I understand, I understand.
But I've never said no to a field trip.
Brian, I think your concern is addressed by the should be. If that said shall, that's an issue, because shall is a finite.
there is a comment here, which I think must have come from NISBA's legal team, that says that that paragraph, that requirement for superintendent approval in the 3 months is optional. You see that in the, there's a note that says it's optional, this may not be necessary.
Well, some schools don't allow any overnights, so that would be
And
the
we were
reason for
that
that, so
school
then that
for a
would be
while.
optional. We still allow some, but we're, you know, most of the time it's things like what Mr. Dunker does that's over the weekend and not our liability, you know, not our bus drivers necessarily or overnight.
Okay.
So,
And you're right,
I think
because
should is-
the red language is what they're saying we need to
And
change.
this is green.
And this is green, so it is optional. So if you want to change that, I would probably recommend some type of lead time in there, because there are a lot of logistics involved.
I think the should gives us that leeway.
Right.
Okay.
That should means
Yep, I'm cool
even
with
if
that.
it's not
We're okay?
given that.
All right, that's it then, so we could have left it in, but
decide to allow, yeah.
all right, so then I need a motion for 9.02.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, and Ms. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Siegel,
Yes?
Yes.
Reverend Bose, Mr. LaPointe.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Okay, we are up to number 10, old business, and this is the RFP for legal services, but we kind of
It was
already
covered. Yep.
talked about that, so I
It was
think we
covered.
have nothing more at this point, right?
Yep, I was just looking for an update on where it stood. so
Okay,
for
excellent
everybody.
on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. Okay, new business, communications with the public.
Yes, this was my topic. I don't know if you recall, in the August meeting, we had a community member attend and reported that she has a difficult time knowing what's going on because she's not on social media, so she's not following Facebook and all of those posts. So the recommendation or the suggestion was made that perhaps we can use the school messenger system as a means of letting community members know when things, events are going on or whatever. So I did follow up with that community member, and she still is very much interested in having that happen. So I just wanted an update on, is that possible? Can we set that up? How soon?
And I believe
I'm
Dr. Kapoor looked
currently
into that.
researching it.
Perfect. Okay.
I'm researching different ways of doing it. There are a couple of things that need to be further researched. When we use School Messenger, when our parents enroll, we're opting into that system. We have no way of batch loading everybody in the community into a system. The way it works now is when you register your child, it goes into School Tool, which is our student management system, and School Messenger does a data extract every night to keep their records current so we can do the auto calling. So there's a logistic piece there. There's an FCC requirement. We can't, a robocall is like a jump call. So people would need to opt into such a service. So leave it that I am researching it. I've got a lot of information on it. There's a couple of different ways. I should have more to bring back to you at the October meeting, so you can make a final decision. We just have to clear the opting in end of it, because right now the way to opt in is to go to a website and access a portal. Most of the people we're talking about are asking for this because they don't
They don't
have
do
that.
that.
Yeah.
So then what we would need to do is put it out in our newsletter and put a form that they would need to fill out in the newsletter and have them return it to the district, and we would have to manually enter it. So can it be done? Yes. The other question is, I'm looking to see if there's an additional cost that we're not currently paying. So I will have a lot more information, but it is being researched, and I should have enough that we can make a decision at the October meeting.
We can also let the public know that if they have a question and want to know something, like when is a meeting or what is, they can call. That's why we have, people at desks doing the work, right? I mean, they can call. I know we don't want like 100 calls, is there a meeting tonight? Look it up. But if you can't, or if you're impaired in some way and don't want to do that, have her just call.
We can send her a calendar too.
Yeah, and send her a calendar.
Okay.
Okay?
Thanks. Just wanted to follow
All
up.
right. Anything else? All right, how about school tax payments? I believe this was yours as well.
This was also mine. And again, in my fishbowl of my employment, I'm hearing from a number of individuals, again, about a communication lacking coming from the school district, in particular with the school taxes. I don't know why or when the decision was made or who made the decision, other than Ms. Lewis just stated that she did, to not have in-person office hours, but that has been...
It's been changed now.
Yeah, that has been a detriment to a significant number of community members who are very upset by not having the option. I understand that hours have now since come out, but again, that information has not been conveyed to the community as a whole. What individuals received on their tax bills was that it was mail-in only, and that there was no form of personal payment or face-to-face payment. So my concern is, when did this change come about? Why was it made? Who agreed to this? And what can we do to correct that at this point? My concern is, has the overall process been affected by this? Are we following the rules and regulations in terms of how we're collecting the taxes at this point?
So I did not make this decision solely by myself. I did discuss this with the tax collector, and I told her of my concerns about her collecting on Saturdays and that should not happen. And Jeff Bank called us and told us they would no longer collect our taxes. So that left me in a quandary of what to do for in-person. And when I spoke to the tax collector, I wanted her to come into the office and collect, and she was very reluctant to do that. I spoke with my colleagues. Many of my colleagues in this county and Orange County do not have in-person tax collection. So that is why the decision was made. I did do some research. Since that time, it's come to my attention that, and I even sent this to the real property director in Sullivan County, and he didn't say anything to me either. But now it's come to my attention from him that we have to collect taxes in the manner in which the local municipality collects taxes. So we have to offer in-person tax collection. We put public notice in the River Reporter and the Sullivan County Democrat, and it ran in the River Reporter on September 14th and 21st, the Sullivan County Democrat on September 12th and 15th. I circulated the public notice to all of the municipalities in this district, which is Deer Park, Lumberland, Highland, and Tustin, and it has been posted.
It's also on the school signs.
It is on the school sign, it is on the website, and I notified the county of the public notice as well. And then I added the other 2 dates today, because Mr. Hominick said he had made a mistake when he told me we only needed 3 dates. In fact, we needed 3 dates in September. So I added the other 2 dates today, and another it's not a public notice going out tomorrow, it is an actual advertisement in the Democrat that will be business card size ad of what the days and times for next week and where the location is. And it is also on the sign and the website.
Was any thought given to sending letters out to all the taxpayers with this information? Because
Well-
not a significant number of people get the River Reporter or the Democrat in town.
A mailing is an expense to
Is
the
an
district.
expense, yes.
It is.
And the tax collector has said that she has not had any complaints at all. When I talked to her today, I asked her, have you had any complaints? And she said, I have not had any complaints. The phone has been very quiet. And I've had no phone calls either. And last year, people were calling. So I'm I mean.
There were significant problems last year that were unrelated to this. There were actually two sets of problems last year. The first problem last year was that we didn't figure in the equalization rate, so we sent out a bunch of bills that were not correct, and we had to do a second mailing at a significant expense to the taxpayer. What I just learned today, which I hadn't heard of until today when I spoke with an authority on this matter, is that the second round of tax bills were also incorrect. And I've never heard of that. We've never discussed it as a board, that the second round of tax bills didn't account for the omits and prorats. And as a consequence, we may have collected the incorrect amount of tax revenue last year, which we didn't discuss last year or even up until this point. So
And that is not correct. We did account for omits and prorats.
that differs from...
I have the paperwork in my office that indicates we accounted for omits and prorats.
That differs from the information I was given by an authority on tax in Sullivan County. But, so last year there were problems. These problems are different, and I usually don't get calls about tax issues, but I have had a number of calls. And I was surprised to hear that, Jeff Bank wasn't working with us anymore, and that we had decided as a district to not allow in-person payments because this board never discussed it. And not only does the inability for people to pay their taxes in person violate real property tax law, section 1318, but it also violates district policy, because we actually have a district policy that requires us to provide in-person payments. So our tax bills went out with an actual statement typed onto the bill through our vendor that said there will be no in-person payment, and this board never made that decision. So I guess I'm with Ms. Wagner in wanting to know and under what authority that decision was made.
Well, the fact is it's been unmade, and we know now that we're following the law, and Ruth has corrected the what do you want to call it, the dates of collection, and we put it out in a variety of ways, and please feel free to let each and every one of those people who have spoken to either of you know personally those dates of collection. So it's moot at this point. We've handled it.
Well, I
hear you.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. And everything is a learning process, and there are mistakes that get made. But we're in the right now, and things are as they should be. So I don't want to belabor.
No, I just think that, it doesn't take a lot of research to read each of these laws has like 2 or 3 paragraphs that clearly states that the taxes are to be able to be paid in person.
Okay.
That there should be 3 days per week during the course of the payment process, and that we're required to do that. And our board policy manual is searchable. It took literally 2 seconds to find in our policy that they should be made in person. So I agree with you, it's water under the bridge, but it's 2 years in a row where mistakes have been made, and I question whether we have the competence to run this process.
Do you have a motion in mind? Otherwise, I find this unacceptable.
Yeah, I suggest, well, no, I'm not going to make a motion, but I do want to follow up on a conversation we had earlier about processes that we entrust to our business office, which we might be better served outsourcing to a vendor that has competency to run those processes, including this. This is a big one. This affects our image with our taxpayers and our
I
community.
tend to totally disagree with you, and I'm calling this discussion. There will be no more discussion of whether or not our present situation is as it should be, and we can talk about other services and changing things, but it will be under a motion.
Okay, understood.
And it needs to be managed in a way that shows us the pros and cons of the CBO and anything along those lines, but not as a discussion and not as...
That's fair. That's all I wanted to say, is that I think that should be placed on the future agenda.
Okay, very good. I also have a very, I'm sorry, at this time of night, a very long motion concerning the tax warrant that I need to offer to you so that we can have the motion be made and seconded. Whereas, Chapter 73 of the laws of 1977 amended Section 1318, Subdivision 1 of the real property tax law, and whereas the entire fund balance at the close of the last fiscal year must be applied in determining the amount of the school tax levy, except for an amount held as surplus funds during the current school year, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education retain as surplus funds $70,435 from the total fund balance of $270,435, thereby applying $200,000 to the reduction of the tax levy. Be it additionally resolved as follows: to the collector of the Eldred Central School District, Town of Highland, Lumberland, Tustin, County of Sullivan, New York State, and Town of Deer Park, County of Orange, New York State. You are hereby commanded to give notice and start collection of, on September 1st, 2017, in accordance with the provisions of Section 1322 of the Real Property Tax Law, to give notice that tax collection will end on November 4th, 2017, 12 o'clock midnight, to collect taxes in the total sum of $10,128,980.12. I believe it says 12 cents.
Yes.
In the same manner that collectors are authorized to collect town and county taxes in accordance with provisions of Section 1318 of the Real Property Tax Law. To make no changes or alterations in the tax warrant or the attached tax rolls, but shall return the same to the Board of Education. The board may recall its warrant and tax roll for the correction of errors or omissions in accordance with provisions of Section 1316 of the Real Property Tax Law. $10,114,480.12 for the school, including Star. $14,500 for the public library. To forward by mail to each owner of real property listed on the tax rolls within 10 days after the start of collection, a statement of taxes due on his or her property on tax bill forms provided by the school district in accordance with the provisions of Section 922 of the Real Property Tax Law. To forward by mail without interest penalties to the office of the county treasurer a detailed tax bill of all state land parcels liable for taxes on the school tax rolls in accordance with provisions of Section 540 and 544 of the Real Property Tax Law. 6, to receive from each of the taxable corporations and natural persons the sums listed on the attached tax rolls without interest penalties when such sums are paid before the end of the first month of the tax collection period. To add 2% interest penalties to all taxes collected during the second month of the tax collection to account for such sums as income due to the school district. 7, to issue receipts only on forms provided by the school district in acknowledgement of receipt of payments of taxes and to retain, preserve, and file exact copies of all such receipts issued as required by Section 987 of the Real Property Tax Law. 8, to promptly return the warrant at its expiration, and if any taxes on the attached tax rolls shall be unpaid at that time, deliver an accounting thereof on forms showing by town the total assessed valuation, tax rate, the total tax levy, the total amounts remaining uncollected as required by Section 1330 of the Real Property Tax Law. The warrant is issued pursuant to Sections 910, 912, and 914 of the Real Property Tax Law and is delivered in accordance with Sections 1306 and 1318 of the law. It is effective immediately after it is properly signed by a majority of the Board of Education. The warrant shall expire on the date stated above unless a renewal or extension has been endorsed on the face of this warrant in writing in accordance with Section 1318, Subdivision 2 of the Real Property Tax Law. This warrant is given under our hand this 21st day of September 2017. And then there is a slot for each of us to sign and our vote.
I'll second that long motion.
That long motion, okay. And I will call for a vote.
I have a
This
question.
is our tax warrant, yes.
Do the numbers on here differ in any way from the warrant that we voted upon and signed previously, except for the statement about the surplus funds? Or is everything else the same? So, you have last month's?
Oh, no, it was attached. That's what was signed.
My understanding is we didn't have to do this because if the surplus funds account for less than 4% of the school budget, you're not required to make the statement. It's pretty clear. I mean, that's spelled out very clearly in the law.
Well, this is, again, information.
So we're doing this, but I mean, this is basic stuff,
I
but
discussed it with my colleagues today, other business officials in the county, and asked them if it should be done, and they recommended that it be done just for transparency purposes.
but the problem is now we're voting upon a warrant, which now this warrant has to be taken and affixed to the tax roll before the district is able to place a lien on any properties or actually facilitate the collection of taxes. So now we have September 21st, at which time our tax collection process becomes viable and legal. So I don't know that we want to do this, because now we'd have to extend all of our deadlines, wouldn't we? Because the collection of
asked that
taxes does not become
question.
legal until you attach this warrant to the tax rolls.
Well, we attached the last month's, only missing the fund balance and surplus.
Right.
So a copy is attached.
But that's a valid warrant. If we reissue a warrant, I don't know what that means. If you have
It
two,
just adds the surplus number. If
It adds the
nothing has
surplus.
changed.
well, if either the old warrant's valid or it's not valid. I mean, we're voting upon this because we believe that we forgot to include the surplus funds, which we certainly did do, but
We
we're-
didn't forget.
No,
We did not forget that from the auditors.
I don't believe
So-
we're reissuing the warrant.
It's not.
well,
We're
Why are
making a
we-
motion
We're just
concerning
changing.
the warrant.
so we're amending the warrant?
It's a clarification to,
It's just the warrant
The
with
fund
those
balance.
numbers added. Nothing has changed.
right.
No, I agree, except for the date. You know, the warrant is given in our hand, 21st September. We're going to sign it, vote upon it. This warrant now is going to be attached to the tax roll, which
Yes.
starts the tax collection process. But all of our tax payments are set up where you have 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days from the date where that warrant was physically attached to the tax rolls, which happened after we voted last time. It happened on September 1st, or it's supposed to anyway. We voted before September 1st. We gave you a warrant. You were to take that warrant and attach it to the tax roll on September 1st. That legally permits the school to collect taxes and impose liens on properties.
Right.
If we provide you a new warrant, you take this back and attach it to the tax
It's not
roll.
a new warrant.
It's not a new-
That's the point. It's not a new
I
warrant.
don't see how this is
It's
not-
the same warrant. We just added a number for transparency's sake, Brian.
No, I
Which is
understand.
what we best do here, to try to be transparent. So we have a surplus of $70,000. That's a good thing.
I have
We're
no problem with the
letting people know.
transparency, Mrs.
Okay.
Bleekenek. My concern is that the date of this is September 21st. Had we done this previously, we'd be okay, because it
We
would...
didn't have the number then. If we had the number, we would have put it out then. Now we're being transparent. It's the same warrant.
Is anybody
No.
concerned that this warrant is going to delay
No.
our legal ability to impose the penalties? I mean, this is September 21st. I'm not sure that we'll be able to impose a penalty until 30 days from September 1st if we issue this warrant. Have we gotten legal advice on this? I'm not comfortable with this. This differs from I'm not a lawyer, okay? I read the law differently. I would think that for something like this, where we issue a tax warrant with this much money, $10 million, potentially imperiled, that we would have our attorney look at. Did our attorney look at this?
No.
Okay, so
We don't
I
have attorney, well, we have.
We do have an attorney. We have an
No.
attorney. Yes, we do.
No, yes.
I'm gonna call for the vote.
Okay.
Ms. Wagner?
Before we vote, I'm sorry, is there any way that we can get clarification on this before we have a vote?
No.
So if this is
We need
not
to get
going,
it attached.
but if this is not going to change, if this is just an amendment to the tax warrant,
That's what
then
it is.
why can't we get clarification? Because what does the date matter when we attach it? That's my question. So what's it now versus a week from now?
May I share that I spoke with Mr. Hominick this afternoon, and he said that our current warrant is valid, even though it does not include the statement about our reserve funds. I understand we should be transparent, but that is a valid,
Okay, so
legally
Brian-
warrant.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel, how about if we just don't vote on this then? We just let it go?
For some reason,
Done.
no, but I'm not certain, because I now believe...
I am.
I'm not willing to make that statement for
I
all
am.
of the board. Okay.
Okay. So that motion, I guess I need a motion to take it off. What do I need? What do I
That's a
need?
good question.
Just withdraw the motion.
Withdraw the motion.
Withdraw.
Who made the motion? I made
You
the
did.
motion. I withdraw the motion.
I
I'm sorry.
second your withdrawal of the motion.
I'm not trying to be difficult. I
I
just
know.
don't want to get into a situation we don't know what's going to happen.
I appreciate that. I'm just glad that we could handle it that way.
Thank
It
you.
was just a transparency
Yeah,
thing.
thank
So
you.
anyway, it wasn't, we don't want to change anything.
No. it
Okay.
doesn't change anything.
All right, we are up to public comment. We invite any and all of you to speak. Oh my goodness, I have one in the back and then I have one in the front. Oh, and then I have another one. Okay.
Okay.
So I just want to share with you some fun that we had. September 15th was International Dot Day. Our Social Studies ELA committee quickly put this out because it came up. It combined our ELA, our Social Studies, and our art. It was a teacher's option to jump in and play on International Dot Day or not. Peter Reynolds wrote a book called The Dot. Ms. Wagner, you would
I
have
know.
looked
I'm in
marvelous. Okay, we had kids from kindergarten, working with kids from 4th grade. We had kids, older kids reading The Story, The Dot by Peter Reynolds, to our younger kids. Then we worked on artwork on just one dot, what this little girl did, Vashti, in her class, and it just expanded from there. There are bulletin boards around the building. Some of the art, I know Miss Robertson is in her classroom. Other teachers put the art in their classroom. It was a lot of fun for us. Most of the teachers and students wore dots to celebrate International Dot Day. Please walk around the building and just see. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to work with other classes. It was a lot of fun to see what the kids came up with and put out. And it was nice to put ELA, social studies, and art together in one lesson, and to see so many kids enjoying and being creative.
And that wasn't that to build self-esteem, teacher was,
It was fabulous. But so next year, September 15th, come on in your dots. I'll borrow yours, Miss Wagner.
Thank you.
And, I just wanted to share. It's a great day. We had a lot of fun with it.
Thank you for that
That's
uplifting
great.
information.
That's great.
Mr. Clark?
How are you tonight?
Good.
I think it's really great. I think this board is starting to learn how to be a good school board. I think finally we're starting to understand how tax warrants work. I've had problems with this board in the past retaining too much fund balance. So if you remember watching the pirate movies and stuff like that, whenever there's a treasure chest buried somewhere, somebody's going to try to look for it and dig it up. So I have a recommendation to the board. The audit committee consists of Ms. Lewis, Ms. Wagner, Mr. Laput, and myself. I think we got into the very nitty-gritty of the financing of this school district. I think the four of us have learned quite a bit. What I'm looking forward to, and I credit this to Winston Churchill, he says, it's always darkest before the dawn. I'm looking for the dawn. We're going to have a new superintendent. We have people in the public that voted to change the school board. I'm looking for this school district to move forward. When the school district moves forward, we're going to need some money to make some changes, maybe curriculum changes, maybe personnel changes, whatever it is. Right now, we have $70,000 in our budget that's not assigned to anything. We can have up to $700,000 in our budget that's not assigned to anything legally by law. Okay? So what I would like to see the board do is morph the audit committee into a budget committee. People that are very, very knowledgeable and people that represent all the constituencies in the school district. I would like to see the budget committee have a teacher or two on it, maybe a PTA member on it, some sort of a parent. And those will be the people that can go out into the community and say, okay, we know we got some extra money, but this is what we're going to do with it. And that'll be up to the superintendent that we eventually come up with. And then this committee should have the stature to go out to the community and say, okay, well, this is what we've had trouble in the past. This is what we need to do. This is what we need the money for. So I'm just making that recommendation to the board that you expand the audit committee into a budget committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Thank you.
Public comment, yes. Please say who you are.
Jason Troxel. I have 3 kids in this district right now, 4th one hopefully in a year or so. Want to address something that hasn't been touched at all, but backpacks in the high school for 7th and 8th graders. I have no idea who decided to leave it up to the teachers to decide whether a backpack can be in the classroom or not. I really don't care. I mean, I spoke to Mr. Krebs and we covered quite a bit of stuff pertaining to personal responsibility for the kids. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to say it very bluntly to you guys. You guys have to have a policy. Something that takes it away from the teachers. Because these kids are carrying around 30 pounds worth of books on their backs. If they, yeah,
Doesn't work.
they can't afford to have to run back and forth to their lockers. They don't have time for that. They got far more important things to be dealing with. If they're doing sports, they've got a sports bag, they've got their backpack, they've got all kinds of other stuff. To tell them they got to carry their books in their arms, and their binders, and their notebooks, and their pens, and their pencils, and say, oh, go swap out between classes is not acceptable. But so far, we only had one incident with a teacher over at the high school who told my son to empty his backpack and only take what he needs. Thankfully, Mr. Krebs dealt with that. But this was a long-standing teacher. She's been there for quite a few years. There was no communication about a rule change that had happened. She had no clue. What if my son had turned around and said, no, I'm in the right, and she decided, hey, I want to, you're going to the principal's office. Now all of a sudden there's going to be some kind of mark on his record when he was the one in the right. That's not fair to him. That's not fair to any student. So this comes back to you guys need to communicate better. You started doing that. Well, now our teachers need to do it. And as far as the no backpack rule, if it comes to it, I'll fight you guys tooth and nail. There is no reason a student shouldn't be allowed to have a backpack. No reason. Because there's just too much stuff to carry. And it's part of learning personal responsibility. Take care of it. Have the teacher hold them accountable for their stuff. If they're going to leave it out in the aisle and that's the teacher's concern, well then, of course, there are going to be repercussions for the child. But that's where you start with personal responsibility for them. Say, hey, put your backpack away. Don't leave it lying around. Put your stuff away. It's a simple little task for a teacher to tell a child to do. And if they're not willing to do that little task, then we got bigger problems. I understand that they have a lot of students to deal with, and I totally appreciate it. I had a backpack, went to school, I'm sure all of you did. Many of you had purses, bags, briefcases. What would you do if you were told you couldn't carry your stuff where you needed to take it? You'd be kind of mad that you're fumbling around with all that. You want to frustrate a 7th and 8th grader? Saying, hey, you got to go back and forth between your locker and make them late? No. So I'm asking you guys to put together a policy that takes the power out of the teacher's hand a little bit there and say, hey, start promoting personal responsibility with the kids. Say, take care of your stuff, and we won't have a problem.
Thank you, Mr. Trout.
Thank you.
I can speak to that a little bit as well. I have 4 children in the high school, well, 2 have graduated, but 2 are there now. That is a consistent frustration of the students, especially in 7th and 8th grade. Their lockers are on the bottom floor. Some of them have classes on the 3rd floor. And they have, what, 4 minutes, 3 minutes? What is it? 3 minutes? 3 minutes to get from the bottom floor all the way up to the 3rd floor. And if they're not there and inside the door on time, then they're reprimanded by the teacher. And my daughter, Emily, who maybe weighs 95 pounds soaking wet, is carrying 50 pounds of books around on her back all day long. So I agree, like there needs to be a definite policy school-wide. I don't think that it's appropriate to allow each individual teacher to determine that. The kids just need consistency. They need something that's going to help them alleviate their own anxiety so that they can just focus on learning. That's my opinion.
For the purpose of the camera, could you say who you are and what town?
I'm Jessica McGrail. For my kids, or all 5 of my kids have been in Eldred.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. McGrail. Yes.
Maria Nealon, Eldred. My thinking is, though, at one point in the elementary school here, we had 2 class sets of textbooks where there was a set in the classroom and then there was one to go home with the students. So that the kids didn't, because I know the history book is probably 5 pounds at best. Okay, but if they have to bring it back and forth, because Kate got the same thing.
So if you look at the supply list for the 7th grade, 4 different binders, 4 different notebooks, and, you know, for my son to go, I saw him today try to use a combo lock, I'm like, he's in 7th grade.
We'll be there 3 minutes.
He's trying to use
Okay.
You know, the supply list is for the
I think you've exposed a good issue that we need to look at, and we certainly can look at that and look into policy. If there are policies out there, we'll look, we'll figure out what to do. That's what we do. That's our job. Thank you. Yes.
I have one more thing to say, Jessica McGrail again, parents. Last time I was here in August at the board meeting, I brought up the whole issue of Sullivan County classes versus AP credits. I would just like to know if, I've spoken to many parents in the district, parents who both have children who have gone on to college and have carried those Sullivan County credits with them, that transferred into Auburn, Emerson, Berkeley, my son, all the SUNY schools in the SUNY system have to accept the Sullivan County credits. And consistently I'm hearing, yes, Sullivan County community college credits are so much more beneficial because they are taken by so many more schools than the AP credits. On 3 different occasions, I spoke with students who took AP classes through, they took the AP theory class through Eldred, which was at the time the only AP class that was offered, and none of them received credit for that class. So my question, I guess, or my request is that if there is going to be a change in the curriculum at Eldred, changing from Sullivan County classes to AP classes.
We're not doing that.
Okay, just my other
We're not doing
parents
that.
were
We have 38 credits.
requesting
We're very proud of that.
Okay.
It saves parents a lot of money the first year of college. It certainly helps the GPA, as I can attest to with my own sons. And no matter how many AP courses we offer, because teachers think that might be a good or the challenge is different, whatever the value of AP is, that's not going to affect our Sullivan County
You'll still
courses.
keep all of them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I
Okay.
recall after the question last month about this issue that Mr. Krebs was going to give us a presentation about AP versus Sullivan County. Is that
Right,
happening at the
He
October
has
meeting?
another commitment tonight with
Right.
it, as you know. So maybe we can get some more information in October from
In
Mr.
October.
Krebs.
Okay, that would be fantastic.
Okay? All right. Comments? Yes?
On behalf of River, she couldn't be here tonight.
Oh, shucks.
Sorry, it's a long day. She's been working on a project all summer long. She was hiding bones all over the area, and now she can't find them. So she's depending on the children to help her find her bones. She's partnered with a number of businesses who have donated ice cream cones or a sandwich or slices of pizza. So when these will be hidden in various locations in the community, there's a bunch of them, and when a child spots one, they are to ask a grown-up to retrieve it off of the display, wherever the business puts it, bring it back to me, we'll reveal what the reward is. Mrs. Regan worked on adorable little coupons with bones on the edge, so very cute. So it's for no other reason than to just have a little fun with the kids,
love it.
rev them up about, this little search, and there are enough donations that will carry it through the whole year. I will thank the businesses in the yearbook, and what else? Thank them in the yearbook, and my thought is that, for example, if a child wins a slice of pizza at a local restaurant, that when the family goes to the restaurant, they're not going to just watch the child eat a slice of pizza. That they will also eat there with
So it
kids.
supports our community as well.
Works.
Yes,
So let's
absolutely.
see how it goes.
Well, thank you
That's
very
really
much.
cool.
I'm just amazed again at the teachers between the dots and the bones. And, I just love elementary school. I really do. I mean, the high school, we have to talk about the credits and I like the dots and the bones, I'm sorry, it's just my thing.
And we're
Yeah.
worried about Common Core.
Yeah, right.
No, I love it. I just wanted to say that I think that's great, Mrs. Lombardi. And the thing with the videos, asking community members and others to send videos in for our kids, both of those ideas kind of bridge our school and our community, and people are going to see green and yellow bones all over the place. So I think anytime our school gets out into our community or vice versa is
Yes.
like really helpful. And so it benefits the kids, but the district too.
I really hope so, and I think I know the community members, even retired teachers from other districts. There's one lady who's a retired teacher from Livingston, and she asked me to come to her house about 3 times already to read more books. So, if we're happy, like this.
That's great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Regan, yes.
Something to mention.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Sierra Regan, I'm the other kindergarten teacher.
You want to introduce yourself to everybody else?
Partner in crime.
Oh, I'm sorry?
Introduce yourself to everybody else?
I'm Sierra Regan, I'm the other kindergarten teacher in Eldred, so I'm her partner. And I just want to let you guys know on top of what we're doing with River, also we kicked off our Summer's kindergartners this past weekend. We took a bunch of volunteers from both our classes and their families. We went to ShopRite Monticello, and they helped with the Partners in Caring for ShopRite, and we raised monies for the local food pantries in County. And they were on either the entrance or the exit, and many people came around, and within an hour and a half, we had about $350 raised for
Wow.
the Partners in Caring, and a lot of people gave in on the way in, and else on the way out.
Aw.
So it was an amazing experience.
Can't say no to those kids, right?
Those faces.
Those faces, I know, grown men.
They'll sold me a car, I'm sure.
Thank
Aw,
you.
thank you. Very good. Oh, very good. Well, there's no bones or dots in that story, but I love it. I love it anyway. Thank you. All right, anything else? Anybody else? Yes.
Not bows and dots, but a couch and a couple of fluffy chairs.
Okay.
Maria Neal, 5th grade teacher. I went to flexible seating this year, which is a more child-centered environment. I would say, yes, we had 2 punctures in the bubble chairs. Not on purpose. I almost think it's my fault. I didn't follow the directions. However, very successful. You know, the kids rotate every day. They've been really great about it. They understand that if they need a flat surface to work on, they can move. I've been getting tremendous feedback from parents saying it's awesome. The kids are jealous. The older kids who had me are peeking in during sports practices and stuff. And there are no fidget spinners in my room because they're allowed to fidget and do what they need to do. So it's actually been a really positive. I'm really glad I spent my new clothing money on my furniture.
You know, you can put in your receipts.
I understand, only up to a certain amount.
I think it's $250 or something, right? Didn't I read about this? $250 on your taxes or something?
Yeah, that's not
Doesn't really fit.
It's worth it.
That's August, that's not even yet.
All right, I think it's wonderful. Thank you very much.
If you ever feel like
I will stop in. You know, when I taught, I used to have, during free reading, they could go anywhere in the room that they wanted to. It was incredibly creative where they figured out that they could read with a little privacy or a little, stick their head in something, as long as it was safe. They read in every closet, they read under the tags, and it was so positive. Yeah, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yes.
This is Clifford.
Introduce yourself, Dawn.
Joanne Burrowswood. I'm
Oh.
filling in for Cherish.
Hi.
This is her second year of not being here. We miss her dearly. I am blessed, I will say I'm blessed to work with an incredible administration, amazing elementary school teachers. Thank you. I can't say enough. We are looking as a 3rd grade to potentially launch some way to have thoughtful 3rd graders go out in the community to help maybe with SPCA or shelter-like things for animals. My husband is from the UK. He is a professional huntsman. So we have a kennel of 40 hounds and 10 puppies. Wow. That's my life when I'm not here. So with that being said, knowing what goes into caring for whether they're hounds or animals or estranged pets, I feel it's a good way for our children to give back to the community. So I'll work with my colleague in looking at ways where we can spread out our wealth of knowledge and how we can give back. That's one aspect. My second aspect is I'm going towards Maria Nealon's idea of the flexible seating. I still have one foot in the traditional as well as the flexible. So we've got a camping area in our room where kids can sit, and we still have our regular seating. But it's well perceived, the children do love it, and they're able to have more autonomy and voice in where they sit. Their attention span is more increased, and the feedback from them so far is tremendous.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I look forward to a great year.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
May I ask a question, Carol,
Sure.
about these ideas that our teachers come up with, and some of them don't require the district to spend money. The teachers are pulling a lot of money out of their own pockets, it seems, and ideas that come from teachers in the classrooms are probably the best ideas. So is there a process for teachers to be able to provide these ideas to the board in a way that would request some funding for these things? I mean, we can't expect teachers to keep pulling money out of their pockets to make these things happen if it turns out that they're beneficial to the kids. So is there a process for that?
I don't know of any.
Usually, they would go to their building administrator or come to me, and many have come directly to me.
Okay.
Some just go and do it.
Yeah.
Okay, but the 2nd grade teachers came to me about, I'm not even sure what to call them, they're little balls with handles that the kids sit on. Okay, and
Bones, dots, and balls. Here we go.
It's a good day.
All right.
We purchased a number of them for each classroom, and it turned out that the ones they ordered were the wrong ones, so we passed them down to who got them.
I have some.
Okay, so, and we ordered more for them. So, yeah, the process is to go through the building administrator, come directly to me. We don't encourage teachers to put things out of their pocket, but we can't stop them either. Many of them do. But that is what the process
So these are
is.
progressive ideas that don't really come from any kind of organized, NISBA recommendation or
That's what we
policy.
want.
Teachers
Yeah.
come up with this stuff, so if we should find a way to collect it and fund it.
Just like up at the high school, we had standing fidget desks for some of our special ed classrooms. And several teachers fell in love with them, got their kids to try them, and they came and we've equipped 2 regular ed classrooms with those same desks. So anytime the teachers come to us with an innovative idea, usually if it's not been tried, we tell them to pilot it before we fully fund something like that, but we do encourage it.
That's excellent. Thank you. Oh, my goodness, hands, yes.
Can I just clarify? It was my choice. I wasn't sure I was going to like it. I am one of those people that needs the control. And I wasn't sure how giving the control to the students was going to work. There's horror stories all over the place. I'm pretty confident in my management, but I didn't want to make a long-term commitment. And the district has always been fantastic with getting us the supplies we need. We are in no way the way it's perceived out in the rest of the country. If it's something that I purchase, it's because I didn't think of it ahead of time. I didn't want to commit to a sofa until I knew that the sofa was going to be respected along the same lines. PTA is always generous. There's teacher's choice money.
Yeah.
They are incredibly supportive of us. I kept my receipts just in case. Always has been. I don't think it's necessary for the board to make a policy because this district has always been fantastic.
It has been our unwritten policy. I love it.
Thanks for clarifying. I just didn't know how that whole process works, so thank you.
Yes, Ms.
As
Lombardi.
I mentioned at another board meeting, when you're appreciated, when our administration appreciates us, it motivates us to go that extra mile. And it isn't about the money, and sometimes we do go to the PTA and ask, or we go to our superiors and ask for help, but really, all we need is that thank you and the appreciation when we share things that we're excited about. For example, the thing with Rivers Bone, even that silly thing, I can justify why that's beneficial.
Yep.
Because the kids are going to be going into businesses and they're going to use their senses to find these bones. They're not going to be sitting in their cars playing with an iPad or another computer. They're going to, be aware of their surroundings more, for example. So, there's always justification in what we do that aligns with our curriculum.
It's good to hear that the appreciation is motivating.
Yes.
So these are all really, really great things. So we should just give the teachers a round of applause, eh?
And we certainly appreciate anybody here at night. Yes.
Scott Allen, part-time road hiring. I think it would be your big mistake to outsource the business manager's job. We've had some bad ones in the past. This was some horror stories. We're losing an asset to our administrative team now. To lose her would not be good. Not be good at all. So I think you guys really need to take a hard look at sourcing that out.
Thank you. Thank you for that input. Thank you. Anybody else? I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I'll second that.
Don't all come at once here. All right. And I need a second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Well done.
All right, green going on here. I like green and I like polka dots. Yeah, my 2 favorite
It
things.
doesn't take long to see where.
Good night, folks.
Green and polka dots.
I have so much paper. That's what I think about this job.
Oh, this is an iPad.
All right, it went well, huh?
No, I couldn't print anything today, so I had.
Right? Oh, I know. Second paragraph in, I went first. Oh, I forgot to bring that up. This is how I feel about.
Okay.
Wait till we get to just look at yes, that's 31st.
But look at.
Yeah, of course.
Applying for
Of course.
special position.
But it just doesn't seem to me that we
Doesn't name it the second formal.
I was gonna have that discussion, I forgot. Oh, we forgot to do the date. Allison, we forgot the date.
That was me, you know what?
Can we just do a date?
Yes, let's just do it.
It's gonna be,
You too.
Yeah.
And you know what? I have it on my notes too.
She's keeping busy. She's doing well. Trying
Thank you
out.
for your